ThisBeTheDave and the very nice people in the comments of my last video asked me to talk about the Halo Infinite campaign. I was initially waiting for co-op to be released, but
no stairway. Denied.
now that I've actually played 343's most ambitious continuation of Big Green Virgin Adventures, what do I think? It seems like there's more problems than just the multiplayer. First, let's go over the start of the campaign. It begins with Master Chief fighting Atriox, leader of the Banished, and he gets his master cheeks absolutely clapped and sent to the Gulag. Next, we have the trailer and...
16, can you hear me? This is UNS.
Oh, what, you gonna cry? Piss your pants maybe? One of the greatest things about Halo is the music, and Infinite is no exception. Octane pulls us out of the cold vastness of space and we get a callback to Halo 2. If you stay still, Octane makes weird faces but never comments on Chief ignoring him. We're tossed into the first mission and realize Chief is a Pathfinder main. The grappling hook is fun and it changes the way Halo is played, for better or for worse. The starting missions let you get a feel for the new mechanics, and shooting grunts has never been so hilarious. I'd explain the basis of the story, but I don't want to bore you with exposition. The beginning of the game does plenty of that already. In the second mission, you meet Cortana 2, and she's pretty awkward to say the least.
You smell fine, by the way.
Seriously, who the hell greenlit that? Most of the weapon and Chief's dialogue is pretty good, and I don't mind that the later Halo games give Chief more emotion. I imagine it can be difficult to write about a silent badass over and over. First boss fight is Rambo. He is a brute with a big health bar. There will be a lot of those. With very little to complain about besides all the talking, we're moving on to the open world, which is a series of missions split into big chunks of the sandbox with plenty of side jobs to keep food on the table. By now you may be saying to yourself, where are all the bad things? And to that I'd say, my mongoose got stuck in this rock. In the open world, you go around capturing bases and rebuilding the UNSC from the ground up. At the bases, you can call in artillery and vehicles, all of which will get stuck in the terrain. You can upgrade them as you progress, and eventually you'll have a whole bunch of heavily armed buddies in need of a tow truck. Oh, wait. Nah, we got it. Being able to eventually call in overpowered gear trivializes a lot of the game, but I can't really get mad at it because it's pretty funny. The Marines are too stupid to pilot any vehicle. Why can't I team kill the Marines 343? This is terrible. How could you have done this? In the open world, there are a plethora of collectibles to find and Easter eggs to discover. You can even get armor pieces for the multiplayer, but so far, none of them have given me a pink skin, which is very unfortunate. For that right there, the game gets its first sin. The minor objectives are pretty samey when you line them all up and compare, and sabotaging repair bays can get old. Even the overworld bosses don't get interesting until the second half of the game. But blowing things up and listening to the Marines and the Banished say stupid things keeps things interesting, where the variety drops the ball. It's not perfect, but at least it's fun, most of the time. Now for the main missions of the middle and end game. I would like to point out that I'm an idiot and don't know anything about creative writing. But what I do know is that this game has missing characters. The campaign only has Master Chief, Octane, Cortana 2, the antagonists, dead Spartans, and flashbacks. It's very strange, and it always feels like something is missing. And I know the backdrop of the game is a lost war against the Banished, but why is everybody gone? We talk to one dying Spartan and that's it. Feels pretty lazy. In past Halo titles, cutscenes would often be packed with action, like the slip space explosion scene in Halo 2, or the Scarab scene from Halo 2, or giving the Covenant back the bomb in Halo 2. The main game of Infinite felt like a whole lot of standing around terminals and talking in blue or red. Sometimes you'll get something interesting, like the laser drill, which Chief promptly dodges, or when Chief gets into the Pelican, but the vast majority of the action will be you, in-game, shooting whatever you need to shoot at. Every now and then the game will let you have some variety with some hunters or the awful replacement for drones. And we got, Sentinels. If you've played a Halo, you know how to feel about them. There's no flood, which I mean I kinda hate the flood, but that's the point, right? Whatever, they don't have the flood. Now I can talk about the main game bosses. You'd think you'd get an elite or a brute with a big health bar every encounter, but they took the time and made some of them interesting. The most fun fights for me were actually the gimmick fights. For the big sentinel, you have to shoot certain parts of it to reveal the weak spot. For Escharum, his energy shields are broken by destroying yellow thingies around the room. Do not do what I did and pile up all the fusion coils and try to one-shot him. It doesn't work and makes every subsequent attempt way harder than it needs to be. One of the boss fights transforms Infinite into a horror game. Okay, so I have 2 words for you. Spartan, killing, brute. Bros. It's not really a gimmick fight unless the gimmick is okay. You don't get to have fun anymore. This was a very frustrating experience before I realized you can just run them over. Now, I've gone over most of what I wanted to go over, and the question is begged. Should the campaign have stayed on tracks? Instead of answering that, I will counter with this. Imagine if Firefight or Spartan Ops was open world. Now wouldn't that be cool? Maybe if the backdrop wasn't so big for the campaign, they could have fleshed out areas a little better, and every section wouldn't blend together so much. Perhaps there would have been more action in the cutscenes. But I don't think that's enough to discount the whole thing. I enjoyed playing through, and I want to get all the collectibles. The gameplay makes all of these problems feel less bad, even though my vehicles get stuck in the terrain and the scanner really pisses me off. Why isn't this thing on a toggle? Why? I wish the open world was more than just following waypoints and waiting for AAA, but 343 wanted to try something new. The main story is pretty agreeable once you get past all the exposition and hearing about Atriox 84 times, but it isn't even close to the great heights that Halo once reached. I will say that the campaign is worth giving a try, but for me it felt like going through the motions rather than being taken on a journey. For a rating, I'd like to give the game a 7, but I still can't reliably play co-op with my buddies, so it gets a 6. The campaign has a lot of small problems with a very strong foundation. Does it happen to remind you of something? I'd like to thank everyone who's gotten this far into the video, and this is what it looked like when I beat the game for the first time. I'm assuming this is supposed to be credits? Thank you for watching. Sorry it took so long.